So yeah, so yesterday, where did we stop? We were discussing about bug triage, right? So was that completed? Guys, did we complete bug triage?
Yeah, we discussed a little bit, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes,
So
definitely.
okay, so what is bug triage? Yeah, I remember Afreen speaking about bug triage. Yes, Afreen. What all do you know about
Triage.
triage?
Tri-
Yes.
Triage is a French word which means sorting. Bug triage means we are sorting the bugs that we are present in the pending bugs, which are a lot, and we don't have enough time to execute them. Then we prioritize them into high priority bugs, medium priority bugs, and low priority bugs.
Okay.
This is called bug triage.
Okay. So what is the plan? Why do we have the bug triage? Why is it required? This is actually a very important meeting that will be held at the almost end of the sprint. Okay, so it can be at the end of the sprint, or like let's say there's a sprint. There is a sprint in your organization. There's a sprint of for 1 month. Okay, let me admit location. Yeah, so there's a sprint of 30 days. So assume that there are already 22 days are over. Okay, so now what the product team or the stakeholders, they want to know what actually is the pending task, or what is the bug, which are all the bugs that are still in open state. See, you're a QA, you cannot give the sign off, or you cannot say, do you guys understand what is sign off? If not, I'll cover that as well. But for now, just try to understand that when I say sign off, you're saying that your testing part is completed, the product or the software or the application that you're testing is good to go to production. Okay, so you are just making a statement that you are testing from your end, or QA team's end is done, okay, for that particular software or a feature or a module, whatever. Okay, so you're saying that the testing is completed and product is having a good quality. Okay, fine. So whenever you give the sign off, sorry, what I was saying, okay, if you have to give the sign off, you cannot just say, even having the bugs with if you're having some bugs in the software, you cannot give the sign off right at the end of the sprint. So what actually is to be done? Assume the developer is assigned with some other task, he is actually not fixing the bugs that are in open state. Assume that is a blocker issue, assume that is a critical issue. So you'll not be able to test, or you continue your testing, right? So what you need to do, you have to approach your seniors or your lead. So that is one way, which is an informal way of conveying what is actually happening to the product team. But this is a formal way where if you're following the agile methodology, so by default, we'll have a meeting which is dedicated to discuss about the open bugs. So here, the bug bucket. When I say bug bucket, try to understand, take the literal meaning of what is a bucket. A bucket is something where you store, right? So it is the bug bucket, which all the bugs will be stored in one particular repository. So what they're going to do, assume your defect tracking tool is Jira. So what they're going to do, they are going to filter out which are all the open bugs that are in the repository for that particular sprint. You're in 22nd or 25th day of the sprint, right? So they're going to filter out for that particular sprint which are all the bugs which are in open state. Okay, now they're going to sort everybody. So who all will be present in that meeting? Who all will attend? So all the people, all developers, development leads, the QA, testing lead, development lead, all the testing team, and the stakeholders. So everybody will be present. The BA, Scrum Master, your manager. So all these people will be there and they're going to discuss. It is not that when you raise a bug, so who is actually raising a bug? The QA or the test engineer. You will be raising it. So when you raise the bug, it is you who is going to give the severity and priority for that particular bug. So it is nowhere mentioned that, or there is no rule that we cannot change the severity and priority of a bug. At any point of time in that particular sprint, or even in future, you can change the priority of the bug. What do you mean by priority? Severity will be constant. Okay, severity can be changed based on customer statement. Okay, if the customer says no, this is actually high priority for that particular bug. So who actually says that the severity can be changed? He's the domain expert. So let's say there's a fresh QA or fresh test engineer who joins your team in your company. So that person will not have a very good knowledge on the domain that you're working. For example, e-commerce domain. Let's say he's a fresher. He doesn't have a very good experience working in the e-commerce application. He just has some basic knowledge because he was using Amazon, Flipkart in his. I mean, every day he used to use it, but he doesn't have the domain knowledge. I mean to say how a particular feature or how that particular bug is going to affect the customer business workflow. So he might not have that knowledge. So Amazon, everybody is using, he might also have a lot knowledge. But when I say banking domain, right? So there are different domains. When I say CRM domain, when I say ERP domain, right? A fresher wouldn't know how it is actually going to impact the customer business workflow. So he might think that, okay, severity is low for this particular bug. With having very minimal knowledge on that domain, how? Anyways, he will be getting KT as soon as he joins the organization or the team, right? So with that minimal knowledge, he might think that the severity is low, but actually the severity will be high. So the customer can state, or the seniors or the domain experts, assume there's a lead, QA lead, who is a domain expert. When I say domain expert, he is a person who is an expert in that domain. So there are some computer science engineers, there are civil engineers. See, let's say there's a civil engineer. They will have some terminologies in there which is related to their field, right? So they have some measuring devices. When that person states, or when that person mentions, okay, we are using this particular device, so the other person who's from this computer science background will not understand. So that particular civil student, he's an expert in that particular domain, or a civil engineer, he's an expert in that particular domain. The other person who is a computer science engineer will not understand. Okay, so now when I say computer science engineer, he will try to explain some coding part to the civil engineer. So civil engineer wouldn't understand, because who is the domain expert with respect to computer science or some programming language? The computer science student or the computer science engineer, right? So this is what is domain expertise. Okay. So now coming back to priority. Priority will be given by the QA, right? So now what do you mean by priority? Can somebody state what do you mean by priority? Whatever you learned in your final class.
It
It's
is
a
how
order.
soon
It's
You
a
want to
order.
fix the
We
defects.
have to fix the defect in
Kaveshri?
this defect.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, priority means we want to fix the defects. Important. How to important we fix the defects.
How to important? Okay, Sanjana?
Uh, we have to fix the defect as soon as possible, immediately.
Yeah, that's true. But it is how fast you have to fix the bid defect. Afreen?
Yes.
how soon we have to fix the defect, and how important is it to fix the defect for our business impact.
Okay. Any other answer? Yes, Pawan.
The,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
the order in which we should fix the defect.
Sorry?
The order in which we should fix the defect.
Order in which we had to fix the defect. Puneet?
The impact it is making on the application and the urgency to fix it.
Impact it is making on the application. What kind of impact?
If it is making a huge impact or a critical impact, the priority will be more. So it carries more important. So if it is not making a huge impact and so very less impact, then the priority is very less. We can have our own time to fix it.
Okay. Fine.
We have to fix the defect based on the critical of that feature, particular feature, whether it is a high or medium.
Okay. Yes. So as you guys said, that's a very simple answer. So how important or how soon we have to fix the defect, right? So who is going to provide the priority for that particular bug? It is the QA. So anytime later, even in the bug triage meeting, that is what they are going to do. So let's say there are 5 bugs. One has P0, one is P1. Okay, high priority, low priority bug, or medium priority bug, and low priority bug. So now the high priority bug can be changed to medium priority, or the priority of a bug, if you have stated it as medium, that can be changed to high. Okay, so now why does that happen? Let's say, yeah, since you're following agile methodology, there you can expect requirement changes. So you can expect requirement changes. Assume that there is some change in the requirement and the flow of the application is being changed. Okay, so I'm just telling you, see, when you're following agile methodology, uh, everything is very uncertain. Okay, anything can happen, any requirement change can happen even during the last moment of the sprint. Okay, so but you guys know that you have to accept it, right? So you should be ready to accept the changes and work on those changes, right? So now if there is a change in the requirement, the flow of the application or the flow of the feature might change. I'm not saying it will happen all the time, but most of the times it can happen, right? So now it is going to impact your testing. So let's say that that particular issue or the bug which had the medium priority can be changed to high priority. So now what they're going to do in the bug triage, all these discussions will happen. They're not going to discuss about the requirement. Instead, they're just going to list out or check the list of bugs and they're going to sort it, which is important. Even it can happen that a bug which had a medium priority that is being assigned by the QA, that bug can be dropped. That can be dropped. What do you mean by drop? They can drop it from fixing. Okay, the stakeholders or the product owner or the scrum master, or not the scrum master, it will be the product owner, because they are the ones who will have domain expertise, right? So they can actually say that, okay, we can park this bug for now. They're not going to remove that particular bug, but that has to be there, right? So we have to have some proof of the bug that is being reported in the repository. So now they're going to park that bug. So they're not going to pick that bug. So what they'll do now, since they're parking it, they cannot just keep it as it is. They have to change the priority to low. You get that? So it is very different from one application to another. So if all of you are working in 10 different companies, assume 10 different companies. So the work flow or how the meetings will be held or how the culture for in that particular meeting, that could be very different from one organization to another organization. It will not be a great, there'll not be a much difference, but yeah, slight differences will be there. So this is just a high level. I just wanted to brief in a very high level. Okay, now coming back to yeah, the other meetings. So what do you mean by sprint retrospective? Guys, what do you mean by sprint retrospective?
It is a meeting which has been
The-
conducted on the last day of the sprint.
When
wherein we
will
discuss-
sprint review be conducted then?
Sprint review is done on sprint retrospect meeting only now. It's a review meeting only.
Do you
Or in the
are you saying that sprint review and sprint retrospective are same?
In the sprint block is that review will be done.
Sorry. See, even if you are wrong, it's fine. Whatever you're saying, please be bold and answer. Whatever you have understood.
I believe that the sprint review is like conducted on the middle of the sprint, and the retrospect is conducted at the end of the sprint.
Okay, then what happens in sprint review?
In this meeting, they will check the list of the committed user story as by the developer and testing team for the like specific sprints and all.
See, commitment happens actually during the sprint planning meeting. There is something called as estimation and all that, right? During the sprint planning. So the estimation will be done, the assignment of the tasks will be done, or the assignment of the stories will be done to specific test engineer and developer. So
Yes.
assignment will be done.
I think a retrospective is done after the sprint review.
No,
Why
sprint
so?
Because review involves what and all was done, and retrospective involves what went wrong, what went right, and what can be the improvement done, and all that. It is like more of a suggestion and preparation for the next one, where review is just a part of that existing sprint.
Sprint review held on end of every sprint.
See, coming back to Puneet, sprint retrospective is also with respect to that particular sprint.
Mhm.
We are not considering it on whole. Okay, we are not
Okay.
going to do a retrospective on 2012 sprint.
Mhm.
May 2012 we had a sprint, right? So we are not going to do a retrospective on that particular for that duration. It will be for the current sprint only. Both of them are for the current sprint.
Mhm.
What is the difference between sprint review and retrospective? Retrospective, you guys have understood. See, when I say retrospective, sprint retrospective, it will be more with respect to the process. See, yesterday I gave you some examples, like the build was received very late. So that is with respect to process, right? The build from the developers was late. Do you remember me giving you examples on this?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So that is on all with respect to the process. There was very less communication between the team members. The lead did not help. Okay. So these are related to how the process is, what actually went well with respect to the process, what didn't go well with the process. I mean, you have a process that you follow in each and every sprint, and that actually differs from organization to organization. But when I say I'm working in this particular organization, as if all of you are QA test engineers, okay, you're all working in one particular company, in the same company. So you're all following the same flow or the process, right? So each person might have faced some problem, okay, in that particular sprint, irrespective of whatever story you picked. Okay, that will be a common issue, right? So you can say that so when I say that there was no less communication, so what is the action plan for that? So they are going to put on the action plan. They'll say that before starting any sprint, so before starting, I'm just giving you an example. Okay. So sprint planning happens, which is nothing but the sprint refinement, right? Do you know what is refinement? Have you heard about refinement?
No,
No?
ma'am.
Okay. Sprint planning meeting is nothing but sprint refinement meeting. Okay. The other word for sprint planning. So what actually happens in sprint planning meeting? So that is the first meeting that will be held before starting the sprint. That will happen on the first day of the sprint. I'll give you detailed overview of how it actually happens. I'm just giving in a brief. I'm just explaining it in brief. Okay. So now that which meeting? Yeah, sprint planning meeting actually happens on the first day of the sprint. Now, what actually happens? All the team members will sit together and they're going to pick the stories. Who actually picks stories? Assume the developers, testers, they'll sit quiet, okay? Because they don't know what will be picked in the sprint. Now, the stakeholders, they're going to pull some of the stories which are to be picked in this particular sprint. So they'll open Jira, they'll have a projector, okay? They'll project everything, they'll open their bucket, the requirements or the stories. They're going to open each and every story and they're going to explain. The product owner, they'll have the requirements, or the BA. That will be easy for you. So the BA is going to explain, this is the story. So we are working on our company, or which company? Assume you are working in Amazon. Okay, you're working in Amazon. Assume Amazon is not yet developed. Okay, cart application or product listing page. That feature is being has to be developed. Assume that is the requirement. So what are all the requirement points? The BA is going to make a note of all the points in Jira. Okay, now he's going to open that one requirement and he's going to say, what is the headline? Cart page. Cart page. Development of cart page. This is the header for that requirement. Or cart page is the header. So now below that, he'll have some points. User should be able to click on an icon from the home page, which actually takes the user to home another page, which is the cart page. This is one point for that requirement. Did you understand? Can you try to imagine? Hello, you all have used Amazon, right? All of you have used Amazon,
Yes.
right? So next point will be in the listing page or in the Amazon home page. If there is any product displayed and the user tries to click on add to cart button, okay, add to cart button, that particular product should be visible in the cart page. So see here, the BA is saying in a very high level, he's saying that the user should be able to click on add to cart button and that product should be available in the cart page. He is not saying that for each and every product there should be add to cart button. See, it is by default, you have to understand that, okay, we should add to cart button. He has not explicitly mentioned that there should be add to cart button, but he has made it very generic and he has said, when you click on add to cart button, if you have to click on add to cart button, obviously you'll have to have add to cart button built or developed, right? Am I right?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
You guys did that? Yeah. So this is how, in brief, the BA is going to mention some of the requirement points. Okay, these are the points under one single requirement or one single feature. So add to cart is a feature, or you can say that as module, but forget about module and all. That's a feature in your one project, that is Amazon, right? So when you click on add to cart, that particular feature should be available in add to cart page. Now he has not explicitly mentioned that only the product on which you click on add to cart, only that product has to be visible in cart page. The other product which is next to that product should not be available. The only product, only if you have two or three or five products, if you search for Nike shoes, okay, you have, let's say you get 5 shoes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, black color, green color, another different models you have, no, some different model shoes you get to see. Okay, that is called as listing page. That is list of shoes you get to see. Now black color shoe or model 1, 2, 3, assume, okay, that particular shoe, for that you want to buy that shoe. So now you click on add to cart. Now that shoe should be available in the cart page. He has not explicitly mentioned, the BA, he has not explicitly mentioned that the other shoe, which is white in color with model XYZ, or okay, some other model shoe, that should not be available or that should not be visible in the cart page. It's not explicitly mentioned. See, all these things you have to understand, right? There are lot many things that might not be mentioned by the BA. There is a possibility, right? So now what is your task? First, he'll explain whatever the points he has made. Now, that will be an open forum for everybody, right? When I say you, The developers, testers, everybody will be there. Now, each person, okay, everybody, whoever is present in that particular meeting, the sprint planning meeting, they can ask questions. If they have any doubts, if they need some clarifications, they can discuss, okay, they can ask questions and everybody can discuss on that particular point. It is not that always BA will give the answer. No, even the product owner can give, the project manager can give, right? So because they have the domain expertise, right? So if they are experts, they can also give some suggestions, right? So now all the discussions will be made and they'll come to a conclusion what actually needs to be done. Okay, if they face any problems, okay, if I click here, then that particular product will not be shown there. I mean, you might not be understanding it in a very better way when I'm trying to give an example, but as soon as we start with the application, no, I'll explain with an example. Okay, then you will understand. But for now, whatever you understood, that is fine. Now, they can come up with some solutions for the problems or the questions that they have. Okay, if nobody is able to make a decision, then they'll go back to the customer. This is what my team is facing. They have these kind of questions. So what is that you are expecting? Hey, customer, what is that you are expecting? In this situation, how do you want the application to work? They're going to ask the customer, and whatever suggestions customer gives or whatever requirements customer says, the team is going to work on that particular flow. Okay, so now in the sprint planning meeting itself, they're going to discuss everything and they're going to make a note of all the points under that requirement itself in Jira, so that tomorrow or today is the first day of the sprint. On 20th day, the developer comes back with a question. Okay, that day we discussed something, no? So what was that? I don't remember. She or he will go and ask the QA. The QA might also not remember because it's been almost more than 20 days, right? So what they can do, they can go back, look into the Jira. Okay, they can open that requirement and they can see what did we discuss. So under comment section, the BA is going to post. We discussed so and on this particular day, we discussed on this point. So we came to a conclusion that this is how this feature has to be developed, right? So now everybody, I mean the developer and the QA who had that particular question, they can go back and look into that comment and accordingly they can work on the application. Okay, this is how it will be. Now at the end of sprint planning meeting, okay, we'll come back to sprint planning. At the end of sprint planning meeting, once that requirement is completed, okay, no questions are there, all the discussion part is done. Now they're going to do some estimation. So this particular story or requirement, how complex it is. They're going to decide how complex it is. So based on the complexity, they are going to assign a developer. So if it is very complex, not a fresher, I mean a fresher cannot work on that, right? Even that is being assigned to him, he needs some senior person's help. So they're going to assign a developer who can work on, who is able to work on that particular requirement, right? So in the same way, the QA, right? So this is how it will be. So again, if they're in the sprint planning meeting, they're not going to discuss on just one requirement. Okay, they'll have plenty of requirements. I just gave an example of add to cart page. In a similar fashion, they can have different requirements. In the same sprint, they can pick multiple requirements. Okay, they can take add to cart page. They can have payments. Okay, that is second requirement. The third requirement. When I say requirement, it is nothing but story. I'm not using agile terms here because since this is just second day. Okay, going forward, I'll be using the terminologies which actually will be helpful for you. So whenever I start using particular term, see sign off. Okay, when I give sign off, when the QA gives sign off. So these are the terminologies. I'm not just saying for just for project class sake. These are the terminologies. There are hundreds of terms, okay, which will be used in the organization. So when you attend an interview, if you use these terminologies, you try to showcase yourself as an experienced candidate. You don't have to say explicitly that yes, I'm an experienced candidate. The interviewer, he will understand and he'll get to know that you are an experienced candidate. Okay, so not just with your answers, but these terms are very important. Okay, there are hundreds of terms. We'll look into that later. Yeah, coming back to sprint planning. So whatever I have covered, I think that's enough. That's good enough. So we were actually discussing on sprint review. So what is sprint review? What is the notes that is being given to you for sprint review? Can anybody check that? Or if you remember, Sunday is your mock.
Yeah, sprint review
Yes,
is not there,
Afreen.
ma'am, but sprint release, sprint retrospective meeting is there, and release retrospective meeting is there, ma'am.
Oh, okay. What is release retro?
It is on the last day of the release of the application. The meeting is done on the last day of the release of the application.
Now tell me, does each sprint has a release?
The final, at the end only will happen.
Yes. So my question is, okay, at the end, assume that in one sprint we have taken add to cart and payment. Okay. Okay. So once the sprint is over, what will happen at the end of the sprint? Retrospective will happen. Forget about the meetings. Okay. Now that particular feature, the sign off was given. Okay. After the sign off, what has to happen? The release has to happen. Correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Am I right?
Yes.
Okay.
No.
Now, if the release has to happen, what is the difference between sprint retrospective and release retrospective? See, after every sprint, the sprint retrospective is happening, right? In the same fashion, release retrospective is also happening. So what actually is the difference between the two? What you discuss or what actually happens in the sprint retro meeting and what actually happens in the release retro meeting?
Retrospective meeting, we can discuss about how to integrate the product,
How to integrate product? See, this
what other
environment
features we have.
setup.
We'll discuss the same thing. What
Afreen, you're breaking. Your voice is breaking, Afreen. I'm not able to understand what you're saying. Can you drop and join back? Or make sure your network is strong. Any other answer? Guys, there are so many people. There are 16 members. I want everybody to speak.
Sprint retrospect meeting, they will discuss about what is the expected result and what is the actual result. And in release meeting, they are going to discuss about the action plans which they have taken regarding the challenges they have faced in the issue or a defect.
Shrikant, Sunday ಇದೆ mock ನಿಮ್ದು. Your mock is on Sunday, right?
Yes.
Just go back and check on this, please. Okay?
Okay.
Just basic concepts check ಮಾಡಿ. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಇಷ್ಟೊತ್ತರೆಗೂ ನಾನು ಹೇಳಿದಿನಲ್ಲ. So please go back and check. That's actually not the right answer. Okay? Probably ನೀವು ಕನ್ಫ್ಯೂಸ್ ಆಗಿದ್ರೆ ಏನಂತ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ, but please go back and check. All right. So assignment for you guys. Please make a note or do some research on this. What is the difference between sprint review and sprint retrospective? Sprint review and sprint retrospective. When does that happen? Which one will be held first? Which one will be held at last? Why sprint retrospective will be held at last? Why not sprint review? I'm going to ask this question tomorrow. Okay, we'll discuss on this tomorrow based on your research, whatever points you have made. Okay, I want each one of you to work on this. If you guys don't make some or don't put some effort on this, okay, I'm going to inform Basava not to give you or not to give you any of the interviews. Guys, take it seriously and please do it.
Okay, ma'am.
So Afreen joined. Yeah, Afreen, since you were not there,
Yes, ma'am.
can you hear us? Okay, there's some echo. What I was saying was tomorrow there's an assignment, sprint review and sprint retro. Okay, so I want you all to make some notes on these two meetings. Okay, what is the difference between sprint review and sprint retrospective?
Okay, ma'am.
Why? What actually happens in retro? What actually happens in the sprint review? Okay, how both are different. Okay, so please take this seriously, and I want everybody to answer this question. I am very sure that each one of you will have different answers, because each one of you, I'm not going to give any notes. You also don't have any notes. So please do some research. I'm repeatedly saying this is very important. Sprint review. This can be an interview question. Okay. Difference between sprint review and sprint retrospective. I really don't know why sprint review is not covered, but this is very important. Okay. Let's move ahead. So what do you mean by sprint? Very simple questions. Please be fast. Answer
It is the
fast.
total time that is
What do you mean by
It's actual time taken by developer and test engineer to develop and test one or
Guys,
more user stories.
1 second. Sanjana, Pawan is answering, right? So please hold on. Pawan, yes.
Yeah, it's actual time taken by developer and test engineer to develop and test one or more user stories.
Okay, Sanjana.
Yes, ma'am, same answer. Actual time.
I really cannot hear you. I don't know if others are able to hear.
Hello.
Sanjana, please be loud.
Hello, can you hear me now?
I can hear you, but your voice is very feeble.
Okay. Actual time taken by the developer and tester, ma'am,
For what?
to creating the user story, to develop and test the user story,
Creating user story or develop?
develop and test the user story.
Any other answer?
Yeah, it's a time period required to complete the one or more user stories. Usually the sprint duration varies from 2 weeks to 4 weeks, depends on the company. This is the actual time taken by the developer and the test engineer to develop and test one or more user stories.
Okay. Any other answer? Okay. So all of you are on the same page?
yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Fine. Let's not discuss on the same thing. What do you mean by release? Guys, I want you to answer. Sunday is your mock.
Release means delivering the working piece of software to the customer, and it is good to go.
Okay.
As a QA, we are good to go to earlier, push the test part of the application.
Okay, good. So release is actually a verb. Okay, so it is that is a process of sending out the working piece of software to the client. Okay, so when you say release, that particular feature should be available for the customer to use. The end user should be able to use it. You get that? See, there is no definition for any of the concept if you are an experienced candidate. Okay, you can put in your own words and answer. Right? Is that clear? Release? Everybody?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. What is Epic?
Epic is a huge collection of user stories which has been generated by Scrum Master.
Okay. Any other answer? Any other point?
A collection of user stories.
Okay. So what is the difference between story and user story?
Group
User
of user
story.
stories.
One particular requirement is known as user story. A group of features or a group of requirements is known as user stories.
Hey, Come on, listen. Be a good listener first, please. My question was, what do you mean by story? What do you mean by user story? I am not asking you singular plural difference. Okay, it is story and user story.
One particular
Both are same.
feature is called user story. More
Hmm.
than one feature is called as a user stories.
Hmm. Is that
Ma'am,
right? Any other?
no,
Yes.
no, ma'am. Story is nothing but the time taken. Like, we can pick up the. We are deciding what number of like rough estimation how much time it is required to do the development and testing of that particular feature.
Then what do you mean by story point?
Yeah, story point is that one. Yeah.
Then my question is, what do you mean by story and what do you mean by user story?
Both are same.
Fine. That's the right answer. Both are same. See, there will be some idiots. That can be a question. Okay, if you're showing 2 years of experience, this is a very important question. If they'll ask you, okay, which model you are following or which methodology you are following, you can say agile. When you say agile, this can be a question, a very simple question. Okay, what do you call the requirements if you're following agile methodology? You will say story. They'll say no. Okay, there are some idiots, some interviewers who are really annoying. Okay, they expect you to say user story or stories, one and the same. Okay, just the singular and the plural way. Say that as user stories, please. Okay, both are same. Okay, but make sure you say that as user story. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
User stories means multiple, right?
Stories
we
is
have
multiple,
stories.
story is singular. Okay, clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Shrikant? Yeah. Okay.
Yes,
Story points. Sanjana?
It is a rough estimation given by the developer or test engineer for each or every individual assigned user stories.
Okay. Is it for individual story or all stories together that will be picked up in one particular sprint?
Individual stories.
Any other answer?
No, ma'am. For one particular sprint.
One particular sprint.
Guys, are you sure?
Or two or more user stories, ma'am. We can discuss it in that way.
So story points is for one particular story. Okay. The rough estimation will be made for each story. So when I said sprint planning meeting, the story points will be decided, or the story points will be calculated at the end of the sprint planning meeting. So during the sprint planning meeting, what happens? Everybody will sit together. They'll listen to the BA. The BA is going to explain one first requirement. Okay, all the discussion will happen. If you or the developer or the QA or any other product owner, whoever is listening to the BA, they can throw the questions and the BA will answer how the application needs to be developed. So he's going to give high level requirement. So once that is being done, okay, the second requirement will be picked up. Okay, next third requirement will be explained by BA. Fourth requirement will be explained by BA. When I say requirement, story. Okay, so let's assume there are 4 stories picked up for that sprint. There can be 10 stories also. Okay, Puneet, hold on please. There can be 10 stories. Okay, but once after explaining all these stories, the sprint planning meeting can go for 5 hours, 6 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours. It depends. Okay, so that will be a long it will be for a very long time. Okay, whole day there can be sprint planning meeting, because when I say discussion on a particular requirement, that requires a lot of time. Yes or no? Right?
Yes, ma'am.
Right? So the sprint planning meeting can go for 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours, 7 hours. whole day there can be sprint planning meeting. Sometimes in some of the organizations, as in when the sprint duration, when I say sprint duration, 1 month, 2 months, 30 days, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, right? 15 days, one sprint, 1 week, one sprint. So it differs from company to company, project to project, team to team, right? So based on this, the duration of the sprint will, sprint planning meeting will differ. See, if you take 1 month sprint, you will have 1 full month duration. Assume there are 5 developers and 3 testers, right? So now how many stories can you pick with 3 developers? I cannot pick only 1 story on that sprint because there are 3 developers. At least there should be 3 stories. Agree or not?
Yes.
Right? So I have to at least pick 3 stories. But what will the company do? They'll not just pick one story. So if you assign 1 story for 1 developer, okay, if you assign 1 story for 1 developer, in 1 week he'll complete that story. What about the second week? Will he sit idle? No, he shouldn't. So there are 4 weeks. I'm going to assign 4 stories to 1 developer for that team size, and for that sprint duration, I'm going to pick 4 stories. Sorry, 4 stories for each developer. 4 fours are how many? 16 stories I'm going to pick. If it is very complex, if a particular story is very complex, for example, card page, that is really complex, yeah, that's really huge. There are too many features that needs to be developed. So what we are going to do, we are going to take only 2 stories for 1 developer. If it is complex, right? So he's not a robo, right? So he needs some time to analyze and start working on it. So by the time he gets some pace, so it will be almost like half of the sprint will be done. So he'll have just another 15 days or another, he has to give the feature or the application for testing as well, right? So he cannot consider complete 30 days. So by 15th or by 20th day, he has to complete development of all the stories, right? So see, all this, the complexity of the story also depends. So now that is the reason after the sprint refinement, I mean, they're going to refine the stories. They're going to discuss on each and every stories in the sprint planning meeting, and at the end of the meeting, assume they've explained, the BA has explained 10 stories. After the explanation, at the end of the meeting, in last 30 minutes or in last 1 hour, they are going to give some story points. What is the story point all about? I hope this is being explained in your agile class. Did you have the agile session, Pavan? Guys, yes or no?
Yes.
You had separate
ma'am.
agile session, or was that combined in with your manual class?
Combined
It
with
was
manual.
combined.
In manual class.
Okay, so do you have some understanding on story point, how that will be done?
Yes, ma'am.
Pavan,
In the Fibonacci sequence and all, I think.
Yeah, Fibonacci numbers that will be used, but how that will be done, do you have any idea?
Yes, ma'am. We will sit around the table and pick the cards from there and select the number, like how many days we need.
So assume, see, we'll have Fibonacci series. What are the what do you mean by Fibonacci numbers? Can you tell me?
Yes, ma'am. 0 and then 1, 0 plus 1, 1, like that. 0, 1, 1, 2, then 3, 5 until like it just goes on.
Right. So assume the complexity. Okay, the complexity. Don't consider the effort. Effort is different. Complexity is different. Assume you are building a login page. The developer is building a login page. There is no functionality. There is no complexity. Already login code will be available. Is it complex, the login page? No, right? Efforts matters here. There are 2 ways. Assume this is a very new company. They don't have any code written for login page, right? Assume this is a uh, 5 years old company. There is one more company which is 5 years old, right? That is a where there are experienced candidates, right? So now in the new company, very new company, they don't have any code written for the login page. Each web application will have different login page, right? The way they create or the way they show the login page is different. Both are UI. I'm not speaking about the functionality. I'm speaking just about the UI part, the front end, the look and feel of how the application should look like, right? So who is going to develop? The developer, front end developer is going to prepare the UI for the login page. In the new company, they don't have any code written prior, right? But in this old company, right, they already have the login page for some other module or some other project. They already had the login. So what they are going to do, they are going to pick those codes and they're going to put it here and they're going to do some changes as per the new requirement. But in the new company, they have to start from scratch. See, these are very basic examples that I'm giving you just to make you understand. Okay. So they're going to start from scratch and they're going to write the code. Now, there are two things here. In both the companies, you have to consider two things. One is the complexity and the other one is effort. What do you mean by story point? What is the definition?
It is a rough estimation given by the developer or tester for each and every individual assigned user stories.
Correct. So assume when I'm giving example of login, I'll assume that the requirement is login page. Okay. So this is not the exact point or exact duration. This is a rough estimation considering the complexity, not the effort. This is a very important point. Considering the complexity, not the effort. So for both the companies, what is the complexity to build the login page? It is very less. Agree or not? Just the login UI. Is that true?
Yes, ma'am.
What is the complexity? It is very less. Efforts, forget. New company, effort is more. Old company, effort is less. But what is the complexity? In both the companies, complexity is less to build a login page, right? So for this, what is the story point that they're going to consider? It will be 1. It will not be 0. Okay, it will be 1. See, at least some complexity will be there. Okay, at least number 1 has to be given. Okay, you cannot consider a 0. At least 1 has to be given. Okay, assume there's a cart page. There's a cart page. What is the complexity and what is the effort? Okay, they are going to discuss. I mean, the team in the sprint planning meeting, they're going to discuss on what is the complexity to build one particular feature. Okay, the cart page. There are too many things that needs to be considered. So the complexity will be more. So what is the number that they're going to consider? That will be high, right? So that will be more. So they're going to pick cards with respect to that, and they are going to update that story point in the Jira at the end of the meeting. For each story, there will be individual story point. So the story point will not be for the whole sprint. It is for individual story. What do you mean by story? It is requirement. Story or user story. Clear with this?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, bug bucket. I covered this already. So it is a repository where you have, I mean, these are the terms which will be used, okay, in an organization. So just give me the report of your bug bucket. So you shouldn't be wondering what is bug bucket. Okay. What is bug bucket? It is a repository. Just filter out whatever is pending in your bug list. It is the list of bugs. That's all. Bucket. In one bucket, what do you store? You store some water, right? In the same way, in the bucket, which actually is accepts only bugs. Okay, it will have just bugs. It is nothing but bug bucket. It is a repository of bugs. That's all. Okay, clear with this?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Now, sprint is done. Bug bucket is done. Yeah. So, what do you mean by a build? What do you mean by a build?
Build means piece of code of software. Piece of code.
Any other answer? I need some different answers. Say it in your own words.
It's a developed piece of code which has been developed by the development team, and it has been given to the testing team for further testing.
Okay.
Building a particular feature, they build a particular feature and send it to the testing team. It will be the build.
Okay. Any other answer? Okay, that's a piece of code. That will be a definition, and whatever you have understood, I hope all of you know this. Okay. Now, you guys have gone through Jira. Did you see how it actually looks? How do you work with Jira? You guys know that? Was any demo given on that?
Installed it, but we have seen it now. We have seen how it looks, but
Okay.
we haven't
So,
installed it.
did you guys get a chance to use it, or just in the class?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
Only
all
when the
right.
cloud only.
So, next point, environment. So, there are different environments, right? So, which are all the environments that will be present, or which is the environment that the QA works on? I mean, you work on? Sorry,
Testing environment.
what is that, Pawan?
Environment. Testing environment.
Testing environment. Okay.
environment. Yeah.
Other environments?
Testing environment.
Development environment, QA environment, UX,
Development environment.
and
Okay, production, testing, development.
UX.
UAT. User acceptance testing environment.
Okay, UAT environment. What else?
Production environment.
Now that is done. Okay, have you heard about staging? Have you heard about staging environment?
No, ma'am.
Okay,
No.
so UAT environment can also be called as staging environment. Okay, see, not in all the companies, the UAT testing will be done. Okay, not all the applications will have UAT environment. Wherever, for whichever project, UAT testing is required, only for those products or the applications, UAT servers or UAT environments will be available. Okay, so in some of the organizations or in some of the projects, okay, there will be something called as UAT environment, where the UAT testing will be done. What do you mean by UAT testing? So the client, at the client's end or the customer's end or in the customer's place, the testing will be done by a set of people who have domain knowledge. Okay, who have domain knowledge. When I say domain knowledge, they have to be some domain experts, right? They should have very good knowledge on that particular domain. Okay, they are going to sit. A team of people will sit in the user's place. Those people, okay, they can be QAs or they can be some specialized experts from the customer's place itself. They'll not be QAs, but they will just use the application in the way how the customers use, right? So that is where UAT comes into picture. What do you mean by staging? Staging can also be called as UAT. Okay, UAT environment or staging environment, both are similar, almost one and the same. Okay, but staging environment, we will have it inside the organization. So when you receive a build, okay, what do? Where do you test? Where do you start testing? You test it in the QA environment, right? Testing environment or QA environment. There you test it and you give the sign off. Once you give the sign off, that particular feature will be pushed to staging environment where you have to perform testing in staging environment. When I say you, the QA, you as QA, you have to test the application, the same application, like how you tested in the QA environment, same way you have to test it in the staging environment. Okay. Now, why do you have to test it in staging environment? Now, the staging environment, you can, how it will be set up is, that will be similar to the production environment. You have learned that, right? UAT in what actually happens in the UAT environment? It will be similar to the which environment?
Production.
Production environment. Here, the staging environment will be set up inside the organization, but not in the customer's place. Okay, but UAT environment will be set up, or it will be pointing to UAT server, which will be present in the customer's place. But staging will be inside the organization, and whenever you try to access that application or that particular feature which you gave the sign off for, that will be pointing to the staging environment, which will be similar to the production environment. And now you, the QA, has to test it, and once you give the sign off, then that will be pushed to production environment. The release will happen. Okay, clear on this? So remember this terminology: staging environment. Staging is an environment. Any other questions? Any points? All clear? Any other questions you have? No?
In staging environment, do we do
Okay, yeah.
real-time scenario testing?
Afreen, I could hear half of your question.
Are
No,
we doing
like whatever
real-time
you
scenario
did
testing in
in
staging
QA environment, same thing you can perform in staging environment. See,
But in UAD environment,
yes,
they do
see,
real-time scenario
it doesn't mean that being a QA, you don't try to test the application, like how the real time or the customers at customers in the customer space. Being a QA with some good amount of experience in this particular organization, or if you're working for some good amount of time on the same project, you are also a domain expert, right? So that is where you get to know how the customers actually work on the application. So then you are also a domain expert. You will know how the end users use the application. So as a test engineer, you write the test cases in such a way that you cover all the scenarios, what the customers do, right? How they use the application, that will be covered. Correct? If I give you Amazon, you are the end user, so you know how the other person, see, you're also an end user, so you know how it needs to be tested, when it might break. Correct? So now you are the domain expert for Amazon. You have explored the application, right? So in whichever company you go, KT will be given to you on the domain or on the application. What is this application all about, right? So why customers use this? What is the strategy? So all these things you get to know. And within a period of time, you will be converted to an expert. You will be the domain expert, right? So you need some time, but within a very short period of time, you will understand. Okay. So once you start working, you'll understand that. All right. Clear, Afreen?
Yes, ma'am. Understood.
Not doubt. Ma'am, if we
Yes.
test in staging environment, then we no need to test in production environment, right? Like the
I
test
said it is
environment will be
similar
to
to, it is similar, but it is not same. Do you understand what you mean by similar? There's some difference between similar and exactly the same.
okay.
Okay. Staging environment is similar, but not same. When I say similar, it is almost same, but not exactly the same. You get that?
Yes,
I
ma'am.
just try to put it in some other way so that you understand. Clear, Shrikant?
Yes, ma'am.
Pavan, no? There's one more person, no? You raised your hand. Who was that? Puneet.
Yeah, it was me, Apurva.
Yeah, what was your question? You had some question?
I had, but I forgot.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry too,
No
but
worries.
I'll also forget. So,
Okay.
see, whenever I'm trying to explain something, we actually come up with some other terminology. So I'll have to cover that as well. I have to cover that and then I have to come back to the original topic.
Yeah,
So
I get that. I
I'll
get
have
that.
too
No
many
worries.
points in my mind which I have to convey to you all, right? So there are chances that I might forget. So I
Yeah.
just want to cover everything. This is not a theory class where I have to cover only this much. If you understand this much, well and good. So that I'll not have that in my mind. I cannot even try to explain in that way. Okay? I'll have to dump everything, whatever I know. So yeah.
I
If
get that,
you
Apurva. No
remember,
worries. Thank
please
you.
do ask later. Or
Sure,
if
sure.
you have the question, just post it in the chat so that you don't forget. We'll cover
I'll do
that.
that.
Okay.
I'll do that. I'll do that from the
Yeah.
next time.
To all of you, if you have any questions and if you think that you will forget, please make a note in your notebook or just post it in the chat. You have chat here, no? Yeah, let me share my screen. Guys, you have a chat here, right? So please share the message. Or best thing is please post it in WhatsApp group. Okay? Okay. So what is the time? Okay, it's 10:38. We'll wind up. We'll connect tomorrow, guys. Okay. Before that, please do remember to work on the assignments. I think I gave 2 points. One is the difference between sprint retrospective and sprint review. What is the other one? There are 15 members. At least one should remember.
In yesterday class, you told like e-commerce.
We'll come back to yesterday's point, but what is today's assignment? These are very important.
Difference between the sprint review and sprint retrospective meeting, that one.
Other than
And
that, one more.
Release retrospective and sprint retrospective.
Right. So yeah, that is one more point. So
Yep.
we'll discuss on this tomorrow. Okay. Please work on this, guys. If you just don't work on this and join the class, then there's no point, right? I'll have to explain everything. So how will you understand? You will understand and you will forget. But if you work on it, you will never forget. Okay? So please take it seriously and work on it. And one more point. Okay, we'll discuss it tomorrow. It's already 10:40. All right. Yeah, take care, guys. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.